Um, yes. So, I mean, now that we're done with the book, beyond the book, I mean, I've had this question sort of clawing at me ever since I mean, I was fully invested in the field of economics. How were economists in their daily lives? Were they interesting people? Were they good people? Were they, um, apart from their profession, apart from their commitment to the profession, what were they like as individuals?
Sorry, in what period are we talking about now?
When you were young, sir, like in the 50s and the 60s.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the people I knew in my parents' generation.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, I would say on the whole, they were very seasoned people
Hmm.
who had made, by the time I got to know them as a very young person, had made significant contributions, and they had come up through dramatic and important periods. So that they were people who had come through the Depression,
Yes.
made a contribution to the reconstruction of the country in the New Deal, in the
Hmm.
case of the United States, and especially through the wartime years and the post-war reconstruction. So they were framed by a large project of national and international construction, reconstruction, and in a whole range of different fields. So my father was responsible for the control of inflation, for price control during the Second World War.
Well,
And there were a great many uh, economists and lawyers who were part of that effort. The strategic bombing survey at the end of the war, which determined that the strategic bombing had not, in fact, been a decisive factor in the defeat of Germany, or Japan for that matter, was carried out by my father was a director of that, but Nicholas Kaldor, Piero Sraffa, E.F. Dennison, and others were deeply involved.
yeah.
They uh, Vasily Leontiev, who had come from Russia, was a graduate of the University of Petrograd, which gives you a sense,
Hmm.
before it was renamed Leningrad in
Yes.
1922. And at one point, Vasily came and talked to the graduate students at Yale, and he took him to dinner, and he was telling about taking a balloon up over China to plot
Hmm.
out the path for railways. And one of my students said, one of the students, not my student, but one of my student colleagues said, when was that, professor? He said, 1929, before you were born. Uh,
Yeah.
so you're dealing with people who had, uh,
Rich. Yeah.
they knew the world.
They knew. Yeah.
Albert Hirschman, who had been a resistance fighter in France and had
Wow.
helped cultural figures escape from Eastern Europe, and then had spent a lot of time in South America. He was an original thinker about economic development questions. Then you had the man Mahalanobis, who brought my father to India for the first time in 1955.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay.
uh, so one this gives you a sense that this was a group of people of real significance.
Yes.
And it was not a group of people who
Hmm.
were, oh, and I should mention another important small group, people like Carl Kazin, Thomas Schelling,
Hmm.
and Walt Rostow actually as well, who were closely associated with the White House and the Pentagon in the early 1960s,
Wow.
and who played a great important role in bringing the U.S. nuclear forces under presidential control, so that they would not be used in a precipitous manner in a way which would provoke the end of the
Yes.
world. The people had made significant contributions to the sustainability of the society, and that continued in through the 1960s and certainly through the war on poverty, which my father was engaged in the design of, and into the 1970s actually, and even into the Nixon administration. Um, By the time I became a professional economist, which I would place roughly at the time I graduated from college in 1974, uh, the profession was already becoming much more strictly academic. And the people of that generation I just mentioned were toward the end of their careers. Not quite at the end, but toward the end. And by the 1980s, it was a much more dogmatic, much more,
More.
let's say,
What is now? Yeah.
what it is. It's kind of moving to what it is now.
Yeah.
Sure. And so a whole wave of people
True.
who had been secondary figures became prominent in the Reagan Thatcher
That for sure.
years. And they got their chance to run their experiments, and they didn't work very well. But
Yes.
they locked down the future of the academic economics profession, and that's where it's been ever since. I have to say, for the benefit of your listeners, that I had an appointment in an economics profession in economics department for just 1 year, 1979, 1980, at the University of Maryland. I then went into the congressional staff on a full-time basis for 4 years before coming to Texas in 1985. And I've been in the public policy program in the Department of Government ever since. So I have been mercifully free of the shackles of the of the academic economics profession.
Damn. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, as an individual, so apart from economics, I mean, what are the other things that you find joy in? I mean, this is your mainstay. But what do you like? I mean, are you a fan of movies? Are you a fan of sports, entertainment? What do you do to sort of keep the creativity, the youthfulness in your life?
Oh, well, I'm presently up in. Let's see if I can get this there.
Yes.
Up on a place in Vermont that was been in my family for since before I was born, since 1947.
Okay.
And I come up here in the summers, and it's really quite wonderful. Of course, do a little bit of gardening. I wouldn't say I'm a gardener, but
Right.
this it's certainly a different world from the academic world.
Yes.
Do I have hobbies and skills?
I mean,
No,
just things that you just enjoy as is.
I don't do. I type reasonably well. My handwriting is excellent.
Amazing.
I,
Yeah.
I cook and entertain sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I have four grown children, so that's kept me busy for a while. No, I wouldn't say that I've been invested with an enormous number of important skills, and I'm kind of sorry about that.
yeah.
There were things I would like to be able to say I do that I, in fact,
But was your dad a
uh,
movie buff? Because for the first time I saw the Age of Nothingness was the first time I think
age of
any economic.
uncertainty. Yeah, age of uncertainty.
So yeah, uh,
Yeah.
that was the first time that
Oh, I wouldn't say he was especially a movie buff.
no,
It
the
was a
Age of
reader.
Uncertainty.
He
Yeah,
was a reader, which I am too, of course. And that's but the
sure. And I think I think I'll end off on that note. Do you have
yeah,
any?
your listeners will, I'm sure, appreciate from this that they haven't encountered me personally. They're not missing much.
No, but I mean, but anybody in the economics world would like to, just be in the same, to breathe the same air as you do. I mean, let's be honest here.
That's very kind. It's very kind. Listen, this was a really great conversation. I enjoyed it very much, and
Likewise.
I wish you all the best. You are truly ahead of the curve. I'm very impressed by
And
the.
any remarks, any final remarks or observations for me as someone who's doing this for the first time? Any you can
You have to have a somewhat thick skin in this profession in the world as large, which I think is apparently the case. But you also have to have a sense of enjoyment of the fact that this is still a field in which there is obviously a great deal that could be accomplished, and maybe we're beginning to forge a path that
Yeah.
others will find it worthwhile to follow. That's really what you hope for over time. And you may not
Work
see
out.
it develop in a short period of time. Cumulative causation is a concept
Institutional
here.
economics. Yes.
That institutional economics is something which keeps me going.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
or to quote William of Orange in the abbreviated form, it's not necessary to hope in order to persevere.
Sure.
just have a good sense of what you're doing, and that it makes sense to you, and you continue to think about it and try to make sure that it does make sense, and keep at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you, sir, for appearing on the podcast. I mean, I just want to say this is this is a milestone for me. I mean, it's possibly the milestone for me as of the moment. Just one final this thing before you leave, sir. So I'm someone who finds himself in the clutches of the orthodoxy. I mean, at least in America, you have people who, vehemently and who vocally dissent against it. There are institutions in the margins, but in India, there's practically nothing except for possibly one institute which is doing something different, but it still has its own internal politics. I mean, I, as a third year undergraduate student, would like to sort of, collaborate with some sort of heterodox or some interesting professor who's just for like a small research work or something of that sort. If you can just recommend me any, or if I could collaborate with you, if you know
Well,
any.
there are quite a number of younger and intellectually independent
Yes.
people around. And I'm happy to count them as friends. I could mention, just to give you a number of recent and important books. I'm a great fan of Isabella Weber's book on China, how China escaped shock therapy, because she understood how that process worked, and she really did a great deal of work on it.
Yes.
Clara Mattei's book, Capital Order, on the economists and fascism in Britain and Italy. It's an important piece of work. I'm generally speaking, an admirer of Branko Milanovic. Yanis Varoufakis is a close friend. So there are original and important voices who are coming up in the next, in the rising generations. They have to be willing to operate in a resource scarce environment, because there are just not that many positions, places, and it's fortunate that at least some of them are able to develop and proceed. And this is good, but what really needs to happen is a thoroughgoing restructuring of the way in which economics is thought of and studied, and that's going to have to happen as a result of the independent work of people like you. To be honest about it, it's not going to come out of the existing institutions, which are really quite battened down. It has to happen as a result of willingness of people to strike out on their own and form their own study groups and their own pursue their own reading programs and form their own ideas, and that will give you a robust framework in the next generation.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. I mean, for all of the great books and for your spectacular inputs on this session of the podcast.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So hope to see you sometime soon. I mean,
indeed. Best of luck as you go forward.
Yes. Thank you.
Ciao.